today has effectively led the last educational session on how to effectively begin your speech, and is back for the yet another one from the series. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Shonan to educate us.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters.
Good evening.
Good evening, guests. Over the course of the next 15 minutes, what I would like to help you with is understanding how you could come here, stand on your feet, sorry. That's the way you'll have to do it, and speak impromptu. Being able to do this in multiple situations. Would you like to do that?
Yes.
Who said no? Remember, you might be called for the table topics. Table topics master, that's one of your candidates for this evening. Yeah. I decided to request for the table topics to be moved after this because there are lots of elements you will learn here today during the educational session that you might be able to incorporate immediately during the table topics session. That was the idea why I thought we'd advance talking about impromptu speaking. So let's talk about this. What are the various opportunities you think you would get to do impromptu speaking? What I've shared with you is a little handout, and the handout has multiple activities that you can do together. So if you can work with your, to a colleague who's sitting right next to you, choose one person you can partner with, either to your left or to your right, and fill up that first one, opportunities, when you believe you will have the situation or you'll come across the situation where you would be asked to speak impromptu. Go ahead, take a minute, and I'd like to see that entire section filled in with your partners.
Sorry, a doubt here.
Yes?
Partner means we are consultant, right?
Yeah, consultant, right? Discussant, right? Then please.
Opportunity.
As many as you want to.
Opportunity.
You fill up one sheet, but if you want a copy of that, you'll need to take a photocopy afterwards. So, write it as well.
You meet an old friend.
A lot of friends.
You meet an old friend.
Old friend.
Yes.
Okay. No, the question is impromptu speech. What is opportunity we get?
This out of most.
We get
30 more seconds.
creativity.
Yeah.
We have to be creative. We have to be covering the topic.
Creativity.
Once you finish, just show of hands so I'll know we can close earlier than 30 seconds.
Point.
Good? Okay.
Concise, be brief.
Concise and conclude.
Yeah, conclude.
And communicate to the audience.
5,
Communicate
4,
effectively.
3, 2, and 1. So let's hear your discoveries.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities you will get to speak impromptu?
Meeting.
A social gathering, possible. At a meeting when you're...
Company presentations.
company presentations when you're asked a question.
Job interview.
Yeah?
Excuse before your wife when you're being late.
When you're late, the excuse you have to give your wife when you're late from work, which is usually every day, in fact in many situations. Yes? What else?
Children, interaction with children.
When
you are watching TV.
Fantastic. Imagine needing to do an impromptu one. Can you recap that entire movie for me quickly before the next part starts? Right? And you want to do it without missing out the next part. Good point. Okay, what else?
We do daily toolbox talks.
If you're doing a crew brief or a toolbox talks in the morning, usually it should be prepared. But imagine you decided to wing it. It's better you know how to do it, right? And that's what the impromptu speeches should be able to do. Calling a customer service desk, like Managers Master Fav said. The evening spouse update. I said update, not just date. Yeah? Stuck in an elevator with a senior member from leadership. A job interview, please. We're not encouraging people to look for jobs outside of Metro. Question during a presentation that you made, like you said, with your business associate or during a meeting, a chat with your teenage child, or even younger when they have a million questions. Good opportunities. I like each one of them. Now let's suggest, if you were asked a question, if the trigger for you to speak came up, what should a sequence of activity be in your mind? How should you approach impromptu speaking? Well, I think there's a multi-pronged strategy over here. On your papers, once again, there's an opportunity for you to sort it out, unjumble it. These are sequences. There's a 1 to 5 sequence. Please choose which one will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 5-step process. And on your paper there, you have the opportunity to choose that. Please do that individually. If you want to cheat, you can talk to your neighbor without me looking. But which one do you think is step 1 and which one step 5 and everything in between?
I know this step 5 for sure.
I'll give you 1 minute. I'll give you a whole minute. Because this would be the process that you will establish when you start to speak impromptu. I know some people would like to start from 5. I don't understand. You can end anywhere in between. You could end in between. I'm sure you could. Yeah? Like hi. End. I'm done. So if you've got the 1 to 5? Excellent. Let's hear 5. I believe in making it easy. Step number 1.
Listen.
Listen.
Wow. Why do you think that's so important? Why listen as the first thing? You should know what you're being asked. You should therefore know what you would speak.
If you're stuck in an elevator, how do you listen if they don't say anything?
Imagine what you have to do next. When do you start this process then?
Pause.
Maybe ask them a question and get an opportunity to start the conversation. But after you see that start opportunity, start to listen. You have to listen for that opportunity. If you don't, then you'd be talking to an elevator. I'm very, very certain about that. What's step number 2?
Pause.
Pause.
Why pause?
Because it's a thing.
Fantastic. I like your thought. You listen, but then you pause. You pause to think. Very often people think, I will think on the go. What usually happens when you think on the go?
You tumble.
You flop, you start to trip over yourself. Very often. You confuse what you want to say first versus last. Imagine in a sales situation, and I say, I'm not planning on selling you anything. Then why are you here? Oh, the pen. Thought I'll just give it to you for free. Now I can't sell anyways, right? But imagine that you pause and you do the right amount of thinking. That's the intention. What's the third step?
Tell.
Sure about?
Confirm
Confirm what?
your thought. Or what you're going to say.
What do you want to say? First step.
Confirm what you've heard. Confirm if you heard right. Confirm with the person who's asked you the question if that's what they meant.
Anyway, you are telling them.
Correct?
How do you confirm?
Yeah, your part. Good point. How do you confirm, by the way? How do you confirm back to somebody that you...
confirm. You can ask next question. How will you confirm?
So, how would you confirm?
Active listening.
Yes, yes.
Then I think it should be, first I will listen, then I will confirm that my listening is correct or not.
Correct?
That should be 2.
So, ask me a question. Let's try this out. Let's try this out. Ask me a question.
What's your name?
You want to know about my name?
How old
What
are
are you
you?
doing?
You want to know what I'm doing now or later?
So there is.
Imagine this versus, ask me again. Ask me a question.
How old are you?
Are you looking at my age or experience? Which one is it you'd like to know about? Did I pause? Did I confirm? The idea behind confirming is not about just repeating the question back, but rephrasing. Rephrasing so that the asker knows what?
That you understood what
And
happened.
I've understood what they're asking. The paraphrasing, rephrasing is very important. That's the idea behind the pause. Well, after the pause comes what?
Confirm.
After the confirm comes what?
Yeah.
The tell your story. And finally, what would you like to do after you've done your telling? So, let's try this once more, right? Step number 1. Step number 2. Step number 3.
Confirm.
Step number 4.
Tell.
Step number 5. Step number 3.
Confirm.
Step number 1.
Listen.
Step number 3.
Confirm.
Step number 2.
Pause.
Step number 5.
End.
If you ever had somebody ask you a question going forward, what's the first step you will take?
Listen.
Srijat will pause. This is when the usual feedback you get would be, uh-oh, wrong question. I think we said something really, really bad at the bottom. Yeah? Step number 1. Step number 2.
Pause.
Step number 3.
Confirm.
Step number 4.
Tell.
Step number 5. Close with a very, very effective close. Great. I think it's good to know this process. But I think in a situation when you're asked to speak impromptu, it's also very important to know some strategies. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So, when you look out over there in the little box called strategies, with all the people on a gold board going crazy around it, the third paragraph out there, you see strategy 1 to 5. This is not for you to think through yourself, but let's think through this together as a group. What do you think are good strategies to use in impromptu speaking? When I say strategies, I mean, should you talk about 5 points right up front? Should you talk about something that conflicts with another? What is a good strategy to use? Let's look at ideas.
I think we should see the positive and negative aspect of that subject.
Fantastic. If somebody gives you a subject, strategy number 1, look at positives or negatives, the goods or the bads of the situation. Very nice. Thank you, Fahim. Anybody else with any other ideas similar to that? Strategies.
Humors.
I want to give the message.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. Go ahead. Go on.
Humors.
Humor?
Humor, yes.
Humor is a good strategy, but give me something that allows me to take the humor to another step. Should I say humor about the subject, crack a joke about it, and then say why you think it's funny? So the cause and the effect could be one of them. So why? Joke is a good idea, or humor is a good idea, but tell them why you thought it was funny. What happened in your life that caused it to be funny? A cause and an effect. Why you think it's funny? The why, the effect behind it. Makes sense? Right? So cause and effect. Very nice. Thank you, Gautam. Songs. You know, they always make me do this. Yeah. Sorry.
Logical.
So it could be a sequence. Okay? Give me a sequence in your mind that anybody can relate to. A sequence. Give me a sequence that anybody could relate to.
Waking up
1 to 10 is 1.
Waking up in the morning, going to the washroom,
Fantastic.
then brushing your teeth,
So a
having
timeline.
breakfast, come to office.
A nice timeline. I like that. A timeline is a good strategy. Good. Another similar strategy is there. There's a strategy to link up with sequence. Have you heard of the past, the present, and the future?
Ah,
That's
yes.
also a sequence.
Yes.
Yeah? So thank you for saying that. Any more that you can think of?
Connect to experience.
Is story related with the subject?
Very nice. My opinion, therefore a story, therefore my connections to the subject. Very nice, an opinion. Anything else that you can think of?
Expanding on the word in the title.
Very nice. I don't need to conduct an education session over here. Everybody knows these strategies, right? Imagine taking a subject, breaking it into either break the word down or break the entire subject into multiple points and speak on each point at a time. Good idea? So let's summarize, and I'm sure you have more ideas. I've got 4 here, but I'm hoping that you've written 6 because that's what I just heard, right? Expressing an opinion, addressing a cause or an effect, breaking the topic into points, discussing timelines, past, present, future. Let's try some strategies, right? Let's pick some of these topics that we've put up over here and identify which of those strategies you thought about earlier could be used. There could be multiple for one type of subject, right? So let's look at this. How many of you have heard of the movie The King's Speech? Okay. What kind of treatment would you like to give this
Storyline.
subject?
Storyline.
The storyline itself, okay? Let's expand a little more.
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Give me an example.
How he was able to basically change the life of people because he learned to speak.
And he learned to speak because he could change the lives of people. Fantastic. Very nicely done. Any other treatment you can think of? Let's try another one. Purple, mauve, or lavender? Very nice. Opinion. What do I think of these colors? Guess who was asked these colors? A man. He was asked to differentiate. He was shown all 3 colors and asked to differentiate between them. You can't, men. I've tried. You can't. We believe there's only one color. It's called purple. Every other shade around it is what women call mauve, lavender, lilac, for God's sake. Yeah? Yeah? We call it purple. Opinion is what would be a great way to have this speech. The road not taken. Look at the strategies and what you've written down just now. Which strategy would you like to use?
Personal experience.
Very nice. A personal experience, a story, past, present, future?
Yes.
Yeah? If I had, but I didn't, but I will. Make sense? Yeah? Treatments, very, very important. It starts with me.
Personal.
It starts with me. That's the topic.
Opinion.
My opinion could be another one. Yeah? Good. Let's look at all these strategies you've got in here just as a quick summary. Right? Let's look at a quick summary on strategies. Strategy number 1. What's your first strategy you'd like to talk about?
Positive and
Positive, negative. Very nice. Strategy number 2.
Cause and
Cause and
effect.
effect.
Cause and effect. Right? I like that idea of humor and why I thought it was funny. Right? I like that idea for cause and effect. What else?
Timeline.
Sequence.
Sequence. Past, present, future sequence. Right? Morning to evening timeline sequence. That could be a sequence. Sequence of an activity. How do I boil an egg? In 3 simple steps. Ask my wife. Let her boil the water. She'll time the boil. She'll tell me how to switch off the gas. Right? Then she throws me out of the house after that. It says no food for you. I've tried that one, yeah? But sequence of activities. Good. What is the 4th one?
Opinion.
Your opinions. 5th?
Break the entire subject into several.
Break it into multiple points.
Multiple
Great.
points, yeah.
So you have about 5 strategies that I'm going to leave you with. But I like what the last part of that is taken from the slides. And I had a couple of more. I'm going to skip those. But I think whatever we do, it's very important that you stand in front of your audience. A, you're confident. B, you're brief. You can't go into details in a 2.5 minute speech. You'd miss great amount of points that you'd want to share. And last but not the least, be sincere. Because if you're not, your audience will see through you. Is that agreed? So how should you be sincere? Give me one way of being sincere.
You speak your own opinion, your own voice.
You share.
Don't copy somebody else.
Fantastic. Don't say, I think Srijit thinks today. Right?
Like all politicians.
Like all politicians do, right? Like all politicians do. They always make that up. They speak on other people's behalf and other people didn't want to speak about it. Yeah, that's very true. Again, very important, I stress a lot about being sincere because what if you didn't know anything about the subject? You were given a subject, you were asked to speak, but you had no clue about that subject. What should you do?
Talk about something you know.
In a situation where you're standing in front of an audience that's helping you with your development, utilize the full 2 minutes. I think it's very important you do that. But in a situation when you're being checked on your credibility, what do you do?
Say, I don't know.
The easiest thing. Say, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this question, I'll come back. If you're in a contest, you hear a table topics subject that's given to you that you have no clue about, I will get up there and say, apologies, I cannot speak about this subject, I do not have enough information, and I'll walk away. But that's how much, you don't do that just because you don't feel like speaking. You don't do that because Srijit asked me to stand at the Toastmasters. I am standing. I don't know about the subject. Please, we asked you to speak about your journey to Toastmasters. You know? Speak about with sincerity. It's very, very, very important. With that, ladies and gentlemen, your educational session has gone through 2 cycles. Number 1, when we talked about beginning your speech. Today, we talked about how to speak impromptu. Don't forget, the structure of your speech always stays the same. What's a good structure to a speech? A simple structure has 3 parts. Open, body, and conclusion.
Yeah.
And what we've talked about today is strategies that you can use in the immediate next session, which you will be able to apply, which is what the Better Speaker series is all about. Your ability to take new strategies and use them immediately in one segment of the session. We call that session the table topic session. With that, let me hand it over to the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Madam.